What is going on, everybody? Data back here for another video, man. Today we're going to be checking out a video by this YouTube channel called Super Kick Studios. I'm not really familiar with a lot of their work or a lot of their videos or whatever, but they released a video 3 days ago, man, called the WWE Renaissance Era. I don't even want to take a guess at what just going by what the title is, what this video is gonna entail, what this video is gonna be. But we're gonna be checking it out, man. We're gonna be checking it out like we always do. And if you guys like content like this, man, make sure you guys smash the subscribe button with the notification bell turned on. Like the video on your way out, or like the video before you watch the actual video. Definitely helps out. Check me out on my social media accounts. Links are in the description, man. Let's check this out. The WWE Renaissance Era by Super Kick Studios, man. Love the fucking name. Check this out. Love the fucking music, bro.
World Wrestling Entertainment in their years and years of existence has firmly been defined by eras, time frames in the company's history where different stars defined their image. They crossed over into the mainstream and they created moments which are still replayed till this very day. Each era has an accompanying cast of marquee attractions and reasons to exist. From 1997 to 2002 was the Attitude Era. Then came the
Golden Era, New Generation Attitude, Ruthless Aggression Era, PG, Reality, New Era. New Era, I believe, is that what they call the era now that we're in now? Like the new era? I don't know.
Ruthless Aggression Era from 2002 to 2008. This was followed by the PG Era. Then came the Reality Era, followed by the New Era. With each name that the company was given for their various time frames, it felt as though WWE, from a television standpoint, was growing more and more out of touch with their fan base. Yes, there was some good stuff here and there, but fans were just waiting for an improvement. But that turn in the right direction would just...
Roman Reigns getting covered in the fucking dog food, bro. It's got any more childish and fucking pathetic than that.
Never come. The moments, the unpredictability, it was few and far between. At the end of the 2010s, it felt like World Wrestling Entertainment was hell-bent on self-sabotage and alienating their fan base, lacking a structure, missing out on top talent, coasting by with their pay-per-views, and failing to deliver fans the stars that they wanted at the top. Go back to 2018 or 2019 and it looked like the WWE was doomed to fail forever. Entering the 2020s, the WWE has finally found their way again. The company has gone through an overhaul from the top down, from new ownership and ideologies to pushing the new wave of superstars. The company has seen a massive turn under Nick Khan and Triple H, where fans are finally enjoying the WWE for the first time in a long time. The company's had a resurgence across multiple facets, from how the company is building up talent,
talked about this in the last video that we checked out, by the way.
A complete overhaul of their developmental to fit into a grand scheme of an overall plan that seems to be clicking. After some really tough years for fans which were filled with frustration, bad television, and spite booking at times, the company has gone through a renaissance. By its literal definition, renaissance means rebirth, and a rebirth has happened within the WWE.
I may sound like an idiot, but I had no idea renaissance meant rebirth. So, see, man, this is what I mean by learning new shit every day, bro. Because I had no fucking idea, but now I do. So now I can feel intelligent and use the word renaissance, as a definition for something. So, it makes me feel good.
And you may think the simple answer is Triple H taking over, but there's all these little pieces that make up a much bigger picture.
All the pieces that had to fall into place, bro.
Clicking.
Triple H he's a big part of it, but he's not doing it on his own.
Nothing like a little confidence boost to help ease you back.
Fucking ads, bruh.
It also includes having a smile. You
make your money.
In 2020, WWE hired Nick Khan as their president and chief revenue officer. Khan came in.
Bro, I remember everybody fucking hated Nick Khan. Everybody used to call him Con Man and used to say that he's destroying the company and that he's a Vince McMahon cocksucker. But now that Triple H has taken over, we can definitely see that Nick Khan is he's for the people and for the fans. And, he's busting his ass to make WWE the best he possibly can. It just got announced today, man. There's We're having Backlash. We're having Money in the Bank, because it's gonna be in like Canada, and we have a Bash in Berlin in August. A week after All In 2 or All In 3, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, Backlash is going to be in Lyon, France this year, bro. And we're getting fucking Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia. So, Nick Khan is trying to expand the WWE brand to all these different territories. You know what I mean?
To the WWE after working for CAA as their co-head of television. The company hired a seasoned media mogul who brought in a different philosophy on television. He came into the company and changed how the WWE distributed their content and operated their biggest pay-per-views. Earlier in 2020, WWE had parted ways with George Barrios and Michelle Wilson, who had been with the company for 11 years. When asked about why this happened, Vince McMahon said the company wanted to focus on growing the value of their content and that the decision was based on a different view of execution over areas of focus. Dumbing that down.
No offense, bro. I respect everything Vince did. He was a huge factor as to why the Attitude Era was so great. But I don't trust this man as far as I can fucking throw him. And I may look strong, but I'm strong to an extent. But I don't think I'd be able to throw him very far. So that just shows, how much trust I don't have in Vince McMahon and his, creative mind when it comes to the way WWE should be ran. He made WWE hard to watch for a lot of years.
Vince didn't think they were focusing on where the money was, and he had a different view on what they should be doing. In came Khan and immediately changed the company. By the following year, Peacock became the official home for the WWE's content library in the US. They entered a multi-year agreement with NBC Universal and were able to settle on a $1 billion rights agreement. The company launched the WWE Network back in 2014 with hopes that it would seamlessly fit into the streaming landscape, even though it hadn't exploded yet. Think the WWE's version of Netflix, a signature app that had content upon content for a bargain of a price.
Bro, I mean, I don't necessarily mind Peacock. There was just something great about the WWE Network. You know what I mean? That's why, a lot of people get VPN so they can change their virtual location to actually, use the WWE Network as opposed to Peacock. Because I believe Peacock is only available in the US. I don't even think it's available in Canada, so.
This was going to be big time, and for some time it was, but as time went on, those subscriptions started to flatline and even drop. The company made the decision to sell those rights. Essentially, the thought was, where can we plop the WWE logo and have more fans see it? If they couldn't have people coming to them, then they'd go to them on a bigger platform. Nick Khan spearheaded that and was able to make the best of a downtrending situation, and it was his business savvy that helped get that deal done. But where the company has really changed since his hire is their pay-per-views. Go back to 2018 or 2019 and pick a pay-per-view, chances are you'll feel like you're watching a glorified version of Raw or SmackDown. Now their roster is the strongest that it's been in years, and the company is putting on some huge cards, but they do it in bigger venues and different markets. Going back a few years, there would be very few shows that were inside football stadiums or baseball parks. Now there's more of those which give it a grander feel, and that goes hand in hand with what I mentioned earlier. The biggest change has actually come with WrestleMania. The grand feeling that came with WrestleMania has finally been restored for the past couple years, and why it's working is the two-night structure that the show now has. Again, go back to those shows.
Bro, I will say, man, WrestleMania, as it being a two-night event and making it like a weekend thing, night one on Saturday, night two on Sunday, I think that was one of the best creative moves WWE could make because it doesn't give you fatigue. Like, watching a show for 5-6 hours, very difficult to do, you know what I mean? And then, you don't have any energy after the show because you're fucking drained from watching pro wrestling for 6 hours. Having, 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. And I feel like with that structure, you're able to fit a lot more on the show. You know what I mean? Because you don't run into weird, time restraints and stuff like that. So, I think that was, one of the most brilliant moves WWE could have made when it comes to, especially WrestleMania.
In 2017, 18, 19, close to the 5-hour mark for almost all of them in terms of runtime. WrestleMania, though it was one of the biggest shows in the world, at times felt like a chore to watch it lost its sparkle. Instead of being a showcase of the best storylines and matches, it became this 5+ hour marathon where the company crammed as much as they could onto one show. So you'd usually get lukewarm critical reviews once these shows were done. Since Khan came in, WrestleMania has expanded to a 2-night format, night 1 Saturday and night 2 Sunday, which allows for more breathing room, makes the show much more digestible, and also gives the company the ability to space out their big matches. It was a change that at first seemed odd, but now seems reasonable that it happened. This change has led to more ticket sales, partnerships, and big-time matches. The rejigging of what and where a pay-per-view should be since 2021 is what's worked, and that falls under Khan, who is a key piece in WWE exploring these different markets. Also, pay-per-view fatigue doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. They don't have a pay-per-view every month just for the sake of doing it. You don't need a TLC in December to fill a spot on the calendar, because if you end off your schedule in November, then the next one isn't until the Rumble in January, which fans will be hungry for, no doubt. SummerSlam went from arenas to stadiums. The WWE started to do more international shows, and all that came under the eye of Nick Khan. That hire in 2020, though simple for most fans, has had an unseen effect on the WWE. WWE, for their entire existence, has also been able to maintain connection to the entertainment industry because at the core of it, they are an entertainment company. Music and television helped the WWE launch WrestleMania and get to new heights. But there was a point where it felt like the WWE was trying their absolute hardest to hold on to that relationship with the mainstream. Problem being, there was a huge disconnect between what they thought worked and what actually worked. The company brought in stars like Snooki, Jerry Springer, and Kevin Federline to continue to show that they were still relevant. Heck, they had an entire era of their flagship show have a cast of changing celebrity guest hosts to maintain that relationship so very desperately. Sometimes it was good, most times it was bad, and sometimes it was flat out cringe-inducing. But those celebrities didn't really do much for the WWE in the grand scheme of things. What's a one-off appearance really going to add aside from...
Not gonna lie, man, I love Chris Angel when he was a guest host on Monday Night Raw, man. I'm a huge Chris Angel guy. Loved Mind Freak when it was on A&E.
Your hardcore fans rolling their eyes at some very forced segment. Now this is a model that the company has ironed out. They finally figured out how to incorporate names from the outside, whereas before the goal was, let's just bring in...
I feel like Bad Bunny was the biggest get WWE got, besides Logan Paul. Bad Bunny obviously has a much bigger reach than Logan Paul does.
These guys and use them in a segment for a bit, maybe force them to wrestle even though they have no intention to and they don't really care. Now they have them seamlessly fit into the company. At the top of this is Logan Paul, one of the biggest names in combat sports and multimedia. With him, he brings a reach of millions. His addition to the company seemed pretty harmless on the surface, but he's been able to give the WWE an exposure among young adults and fans who maybe don't follow the company but follow what Paul is doing, even if they're just hate watching the guy. The biggest tool he's got is his online reach and the ability to market. Just look at how many views his Impulsive podcast gets. It's these crossovers that are working and helping people like Seth Rollins be seen by those who wouldn't know who the guy is. And it's going both ways. The WWE gets eyes on them because people want to see what Paul's doing, and by working with him, guys like Cody and Seth are being put into this mainstream avenue where they get some more exposure than they normally would have because of the built-in fan base that...
That's exactly what I was trying to say, man. Because I've gone on social media or whatever, and I've seen a lot of people bash, WWE made a horrible decision putting the United States Championship on Logan Paul and yada yada yada. That was one of the best moves that they could have possibly made, because Logan Paul has a reach that most of the WWE talent does not have. On Logan Paul's Instagram account, like his personal Instagram account, not Impulsive, not Prime, whatever, his personal page, he has about 27 million followers. How many of those followers are not pro wrestling or do not follow what WWE does, but they check out what Paul does on the show? Adding another viewership to the overall program, adding higher ratings per show. The higher the ratings, the more money they get. Plus, whenever he's on like an interview or whatever, podcast, whatever it is, the U.S. title is always sitting right there, either on the table or over his shoulder, and he's showcasing that WWE title, adding a little bit more prestige to the overall title of the championship. So, I mean, regardless of do I wish he was on television more? Yes. But I feel like he is also doing a lot of work outside of the overall WWE SmackDown program that people just don't realize because they're not really into the business of pro wrestling. They're into it as a fan, watching the shows each week. They don't give a fuck about anything else. But being a content creator like I am and like a lot of other people are, you gotta understand the business side of things and why certain decisions are made. So that's why I think it's brilliant as to why Logan Paul is the U.S. champion. It was the right move. And guess what? Whoever wins the title next, whether it's going to be Kevin Owens at the Rumble or it's going to be LA Knight at WrestleMania, which I think is the direction that they're going to end up going, they're going to be bigger off for it because that title has went all around the world with Logan Paul, and it's been seen on all kinds of different avenues that they wouldn't have been seen otherwise. It's great stuff, man.
That he has. Even if the exposure is so simple as to, the wrestler that was on Logan Paul's podcast, it helps them get those names out constantly and not just for a one-off. What's an added bonus is Paul is a natural athlete and he's come into the WWE and made big-time waves. The believability factor is there because he can go in the ring. They've kept him a special attraction where he only wrestles at the biggest shows 2 or 3 times a year, and he's been great for the WWE. Instead of an ever-revolving door of people that serve a single-time purpose and that WWE fans couldn't care about anyways, they finally figured it out. Same thing goes for Bad Bunny, one of the most popular artists on the face of the planet. His appearances in the WWE have helped them garner huge mainstream headlines.
Bad Bunny, man, same thing.
He brings that worldwide reach. These guys both...
I would not put it past WWE to put a championship on Bad Bunny at some point, whether it's like a tag team title or maybe I would even go as far as maybe having him win the U.S. title or the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, like if it was an Intercontinental Championship, like after Gunther, drops the title or would I wouldn't have Bad Bunny do something crazy like beat Gunther because of how dominant Gunther has been on WWE. But I would not look past Bad Bunny holding a championship either. He would bring that all over the world with him on tour. He has like 300 million followers throughout social media. The dude is like a global mega superstar. Granted, I didn't know who the fuck he was until he came into WWE, but I'm also not his demographic. He would do wonders adding more publicity and adding more promotion to the overall promotion of WWE and the company itself. So I would not put it past WWE to put a championship on him at some point. I do feel like it happens. Does it happen anytime soon? I don't know, but I see it happening in the future.
Both wrestle and do well, and again, it goes both ways. Fans care, so do media outlets. How do you pique someone's interest who won't watch
his
the
match
WWE?
with Damian Priest at
someone you may know
Backlash
they're actually
should have been
wrestling
the
on
main
our
event
card, and they do it a few times. Opposed to here's a celebrity paraded out without any rhyme or reason, please put it on your website. Who are the ones that can land you on the big time publications? Who are the ones that can help make waves for it? Again, both Bad Bunny and Paul started appearing in 2021 under Khan's reach.
I think maybe when we started even bringing in like Logan Paul and Bad Bunny into it.
Caleb Braxton on Chris Van Vliet's podcast, man.
Bad Bunny's match at WrestleMania.
I don't think you'll ever see this, but I'm a big fan of Chris. I'm a big fan of Chris Van Vliet. Love what he does. Love his interviews that he does and he conducts. His professionalism. Big fan. I would love to at some point. I would love to be able to, get my channel to the point to where it can be, categorized in the same kind of category as somebody like him. I would love to be on this podcast, man. Just saying. I'm just throwing that out in the universe, man. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, realistically. But I mean, if I don't put in the work and, put it out into the universe and manifest it, then, who else is going to do it, man? I want to be on Insight with Chris Van Vliet. Just saying.
Yeah, I guess his first real match at WrestleMania, 37. That I feel like people were starting to go, oh, Bad Bunny's part of this? Yep. Oh, I haven't watched wrestling in a long time, or I've never watched wrestling, but I like Bad Bunny. So now I got to
exactly what I was saying, man. There's more to it than, this guy's on TV, once every couple of months. There's a lot more to it, man.
Are watching.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of eyeballs on what you guys are doing.
Like you said, more now than ever.
Overhaul seems to be the word of the video, and I'll continue diving into it with NXT, which was another necessary step that needed to happen in order for things to become one functioning machine. The NXT brand has been around for over...
I will say, man, I'm not a fan of the way NXT is ran. Not necessarily like from a production side. I don't like the Performance Center. I don't like the look of it. I feel like for it to be like, I kind of think of NXT as like being like the developmental for like the main roster. and I don't necessarily think it needs to look as clean. I like the gritty and the raw feeling of black and gold, but that's just me, and I know a lot of other people feel that way. So I'm not into the new NXT. But I will say, man, Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker, Jesus Christ, who else, man? We got Kane Carter and Katana Chance. They were longtime NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. There's a lot of talented individuals. Nathan Frazier is a new guy the dude is phenomenal in the ring. He was actually trained by Seth Rollins. So look out for him. He's gonna be a big time superstar on the main roster at some point. But there's just so many like individuals on NXT that are bound for superstardom. So you can't deny, even though I don't watch the show, I just don't like the look of it. There's no denying that there's a lot of talented individuals involved with it. And Shawn Michaels, I've always been a fan of Shawn. He's had his demons or whatever in the past. Nobody's perfect, but I love how he's, gotten himself to the point to where now he's mentoring. He used to be, a mainstay in WWE. Now he's mentoring these up and coming superstars, and he's actually one of the head trainers. Him and Shane Helms are like two of the people that Logan Paul has trained with, throughout his WWE run. So, just giving back, man. Like somebody as legendary as Shawn fucking Michaels, bro. If I did like a super kick, or if I did like some kind of move that was really impressive to Shawn Michaels, that shit would shoot my self-esteem through the fucking roof, man.
Over a decade, and what initially started as the company's replacement for the ECW revival became a cult classic among fans who were jaded with the WWE's main roster. The focus on Raw and SmackDown was the big, jacked up dudes who were the textbook definition of wrestlers, and stories that felt like they changed course every minute. Meanwhile, on NXT, they had a different in-ring product, a product that a lot of fans wanted to see. They were slower with their storytelling. You had to look for those Easter eggs, and they kept rewarding you for following the product. The brand had their peak from 2015 to 2019, so you can imagine the outrage that came in 2021.
Right. NXT was at its peak when they had guys like Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, Aleister Black, Ricochet, Velveteen Dream. Like that was, I feel like that was when NXT was at the fucking like the peak. There was a lot of times to where NXT, they outdid the main roster. Like whenever they had like an NXT takeover, like on like the weekend of like a big massive WWE PLE, NXT would blow WWE show out of the fucking water, bro. I mean, and Triple H is adding the formula that he used on NXT Black and Gold, the edginess and pushing these new characters or whatever that wouldn't necessarily get pushed on the main roster otherwise under like somebody like Vince McMahon. Like he's adding that formula that NXT Black and Gold took and ran with, and he's adding it to the main roster, man. It's fucking great.
When everything was stripped away and the super indie once again transitioned into becoming a farm system, the focus became less on short-term gain and instead creating future stars that had the star power and athleticism to become big names in the WWE. And early on, it was a tough watch. Nickelodeon NXT was rough because they stripped it all down entirely. They wanted to do things their way, and looking back at it
Carmelo
now,
Hayes, man.
I mean, I said it back in 2021 too, but it's a step that needed to happen. The rebrand came out of left field, but it's since settled nicely. It has a nice blend of young wrestlers, some stars from the main roster, and the in-ring quality that fans loved back in the black and gold days. Again, another overhaul done by Triple H and Nick Khan.
Ilya Dragunov, man, he needs to go to the main roster.
Easy for folks who want to be WWE superstars is figuring out how to become WWE superstars. So if you think of the life of an elevated athlete throughout their career, the opportunity to go play somewhere has always been easy. Being able to play somewhere is not. That's what's hard. But if you're an amazing high school football player, colleges come after you. You get recruited, you go into their system, and either you make it or you don't make it. Again, all that it takes to get there, very difficult.
I believe he's talking about the WWE Performance Center. Because the Performance Center, like having a dedicated place that people can go to train to hopefully at some point become like, a SmackDown guy, Raw guy, maybe even NXT or whatever, just to, develop your character. Yeah, I mean, that's been a game changer for pro wrestling. I'm not even going to front about it. Just because I don't like the overall look of NXT doesn't mean I dislike what the Performance Center is doing when it comes to creating new talent that we get to see on television.
System, not difficult from my point of view. So we want our system to be an easy system where people who want to be superstars They know how to get to us, and we can get to them. We don't want to just keep doing that same thing. We want to look elsewhere for great young talent.
If you streamline your developmental, if you make it simple, it works. A key branch off from what
I will
he said,
say I don't like the NIL program. You know, I do feel like WWE, like, you can still focus on, like, college athletes and stuff like that, and, like, you know, like, these college football players or whatever that, you know, may not have been good enough to go to, you know, the NFL or whatever it is, but maybe they're athletic enough to give pro wrestling a try. Like, I definitely understand from that standpoint, but I do feel like for a long time, and I feel like Vince McMahon was, you know, the leader in this, for a long time, they had a thing about not wanting to go after pro wrestlers that were on the independent circuit, and I think that, you know, that was gonna fail from the start, man. You gotta go for these guys, you know, these guys that are weekend warriors, these guys that are, you know, they're wrestling in Mexico, they're wrestling in Japan, they're wrestling over in the UK, they're wrestling, you know, at Joe Schmo's, you know, bar and grill on the weekend in front of 10 people, you know, busting his ass every weekend, you know, trying to get better, trying to better his craft, trying to develop his character, whatever. Like, you know, you need to go after these guys, because realistically, it's the guys that are on the independents that are going to be the future of this company. I mean, look at guys like MJF, look at guys like Ricky Starks, you know, Chris Statlander, like all these people that are currently, you know, huge megastars on AEW. You know, obviously, you know, AEW is a lot smaller than WWE in, you know, a lot of cases. Being a big star in AEW, it's going to help you become a bigger star when you finally hit WWE. Look at Cody Rhodes. I mean, Cody Rhodes used to be a fucking jobber. Do you remember Stardust? And now the guy, you know, we're talking about him beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. Like, it's these guys that are on the independents that are really they're gonna drive the pro wrestling business forward into the future. It's not the college athletes. It's not the guys that until they go to the performance center, they've never stepped foot in the ring before. Like, you know, I think doing that whole thing is a fucking giant mistake.
It is the WWE Next in Line program, where the company recruits college athletes and gives them the option of becoming WWE superstars. So you could potentially have the next Brock Lesnar on your hands. And when looking at NXT, two of the big stars of the future are Braun Breaker, who came in from football, and Tiffany Stratton, who came in from a gymnastics background. Both completely molded by the WWE. Both
two instances out of how many? Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, Nathan Frazier, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns. All these guys, man, they wrestled on the indies before they made it to where they are. You know what I mean? Solo Sikoa, Jimmy and Jey Uso, they wrestled, they got their start at Booker T's school out in Houston, Texas. You gotta go after, like, I understand wanting to recruit college athletes. That's fantastic. You know, pro wrestling companies have been doing that for years. I mean, Bill Goldberg, he was an athlete. He didn't necessarily wrestle on the indies. You know, he was an ex-football player, got injured. He, you know, got scouted by WCW, went to the power plant, and became like a megastar in that system. But you gotta go after the guys on the independents as well. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of guys that are fantastic on the independents. Like, I can name 5 off the top of my head, not going to, because you guys won't know who they are. Taking their knowledge and what they know, but also, you know, having the influence of the WWE system and, like, the, you know, maybe learning television production, learning, you know, where the hard cam is, learning these different scenarios or whatever. You know, having all that knowledge on top of knowing what they learned from the indies. I mean, Triple H, Edge and Christian, the Hardys, the Dudleys, Kevin Nash, all these guys, man. The Undertaker, for Christ's sake. They were all independent pro wrestlers before they hit the mainstream.
Wrestlers who look like pillars of the future. They came in with no wrestling training. They were built from the ground up, given time to find their way.
I feel like for Braun Breaker, that's false, man. Because how can your dad be Rick Steiner and your uncle be Scott Steiner, and you've never been in the fucking pro wrestling ring before? I call bullshit on that, man. I don't know a lot of Braun Breaker's history, but I call bullshit on that. The dude came from a pro wrestling family, bro.
Display their athleticism, fail, figure out what works, what doesn't, and all the subtle nuances. That wouldn't have worked with the black and gold audience. They wanted the big veteran signings from ROH or New Japan. With AEW becoming the landing spot for a lot of those talents, black and gold really...
And look how much better black and gold was than the main roster was at that point. Like I said, whenever NXT had a takeover, go back and watch some of those takeovers. Takeover New York, Takeover New Orleans. Like, those shows would blow the... whatever WWE was doing with Raw and SmackDown at their pay-per-views or PLEs or whatever, NXT would blow them out of the fucking water. There'd be no competition. There'd be no fucking competition. There's people that would rather go see black and gold than go see Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. You can't tell me that I'm not speaking facts on this.
Didn't need to continue to do the same thing. I link it back to sports. It's a farm system, and before that farm system had next to no connect with the actual big team. How are people going to get familiar with these guys if you don't give them a chance?
Oh my God.
How are they going to learn
Karrion
if they're
Kross,
just expected to be good
Vince
in
McMahon
ring?
made him look like
How are they
some
going
kind of
to
sex freak?
continue to sustain their success? And now there's a connection between the farm system and the big team. When they have Braun Breaker appear a few times on Raw, they give Carmelo Hayes a shot. Tiffany Stratton was working with Becky Lynch, and they're slowly...
Carmelo Hayes also worked for years in the independents around here in Massachusetts, man, as Christian Casanova. He's from Boston. Christian Casanova. He used to work Northeast Wrestling out of Connecticut. Search it up, man. Search up Carmelo Hayes, Christian Casanova. All his. I'm pretty sure all his match clips and everything. He came from the fucking Indies here in Mass, man. Here on the East Coast.
Weaving them in. Here's our prospects, and here's a little tease. They're young, they're building up, and soon they'll be on the main roster. Remember way back when they didn't even do that, Vince would get his hands on someone from NXT and have no idea what to do with them. He would just see someone, have no idea what they're about, and repackage them.
Oh, remember
that
Bearcat Keith Lee?
Is happening in NXT.
Keith Lee was fucking fantastic,
to things
bro.
fitting together properly, and those call-ups are...
You want to know how senile Vince was? When Gunther first got recruited for the main roster, Vince didn't see anything in him, and apparently, according to some people backstage, Vince McMahon was planning on releasing Gunther because he didn't see the value in him. And now he's one of the most decorated Intercontinental champions WWE's ever seen. That shows how fucking senile and loopy the old man was.
Not fumbled anymore. It's the biggest connect that the two sides have had since that crop with Paige, Big E, the Wyatts, the Shield. That crop of talent was brought up nearly a decade ago, and they fumbled so many wrestlers in between that time. In the Renaissance era, though, the biggest change comes at the top. In 2022, Vince McMahon was forced to step down from his role in creative. Many fans had been beaten into submission at McMahon's philosophy of booking, oftentimes random, poorly crafted, and nonsensical. He focused very heavily on part-time wrestlers of eras gone by, which sometimes put their health in jeopardy, and he sabotaged the progression of superstars of the future. To discredit Vince McMahon is completely wrong. I mean, without him, the company isn't as big as it is. The man is responsible for having...
Exactly. He's responsible for a lot of the, greatest moments of pro wrestling. I'm a huge fan and a huge advocate, for the Attitude Era. Greatest time, in pro wrestling, and the greatest time to be a pro wrestling fan. But over the years, Vince McMahon has lost his touch, and he didn't really put in mind what the audience wanted. And he would just put, literally, it would be rematch after rematch every single fucking week. There would be no consistent storytelling. It's almost like what TK is currently doing with AEW for a lot of years in WWE. Vince had to fucking leave.
Vision that no one else did. But he was disconnected with the changing times, disconnected with the fan base, and would coast by because, well, it was his company. The 2010s are the scapegoat in this video, and they'll continue to be. Under his watch, the company missed out on so many top stars by giving them lukewarm pushes before they'd fade into obscurity, and they'd essentially be the forgotten.
How do you have a guy on your roster like Samoa Joe, and you don't strap a rocket to his ass and push him to the fucking moon? I literally don't understand. How do you have a guy like Johnny Gargano? How do you have a guy like Tommaso Ciampa? How do you have a guy like Keith Lee? How do you have a guy like Buddy Murphy or Buddy Matthews, whatever you want to call him now? Aleister Black, bro. Ricochet was getting buried on television, the majority of his, main roster run because Vince McMahon did not see the value in smaller guys. It's fucking Vince is senile, bro. He had to leave. And I'm sticking to that. He had to fucking leave.
And toy that was the shiny one for all of one episode of Monday Night Raw. With him, sometimes it would feel like you were being force-fed what he wanted to give you, while what you wanted was intentionally dangled in your face and not given to you. Now with Triple H, that's completely changed. He's able to introduce talent slowly and keep them a constant on WWE TV. I made a video called the WWE's New Wave. In it, I discussed how people are finally getting a chance.
I'm gonna have to check that video out.
Made in stars who will carry the WWE now.
Let me know in the comment section if you guys want me to check out that video.
And again, linking it back to a sports team, it's about depth. How much depth can you create in your organization? It's about having those guys take over once the big guys are gone and building around that core. Building so you don't have another big dog situation where it's like, oh shoot, our top guy is on the way out. Let's strap a rocket to someone. Instead, here's those talents, let's let them simmer, and slowly they'll come up when the time is right. NXT fits into this plan. Call-ups are working, and wrestlers who are organically over are given the chance to prove why the WWE should run with them. It's a huge, huge contrast to before, where molten hot acts would emerge, fans would be cheering their guts out, and they'd immediately be made to look like comedy acts because they didn't fit Vince's vision.
Exactly,
it links back
bro.
to what I talked about earlier. You need a connect from upper management and the talent, and right now that connect is there. Under Triple H's eye, the company has focused on doing what a television show should do, and that's storytelling. A key difference is instead of it being a 30-minute episode, it's one concurrent story that seems to have logical start and end points. He's also focused on giving fans a great in-ring product, which he was a huge fan of in NXT. The WWE finds himself in a similar situation to the Ruthless Aggression era, where they had stars of a previous generation plus ones that are slowly building up. And when that happens, you have limitless possibilities. Now, I do want to point out that not everything has been perfect under Triple H. There are some people that give him blind credit without looking at his flaws, and he does have a lot of them, but at least there's structure. Under his watch, the WWE has been quite strong. Look no further than CM Punk. They were able to repair their relationship with CM Punk.
I don't care what anybody says. Out of everything Triple H has done for WWE, bringing CM Punk back and like them squashing whatever, beef or whatever the hatred that they had in the past and all the issues or whatever, and him, bringing CM Punk back because the fans wanted it, that's one of the greatest things that Triple H did. And you also got to give credit to Tony Khan, because if it wasn't for AEW and CM Punk's time in AEW, he wouldn't have redeveloped his love for pro wrestling. We wouldn't have him in WWE today. So next time you want to hate on Tony Khan for CM Punk leaving and firing CM Punk or whatever, just know that if it wasn't for him in AEW, CM Punk would, I guarantee you, CM Punk would not be anywhere near WWE. Guaranteed.
Who knows? In an alternate universe where Vince is still around and the WWE is not the same,
CM Punk would have not came back if Vince was still in charge.
Back in the WWE. They're open to doing business with others and with other companies. They've also proven that acts from other companies can come in and
they fucking made Mickie James in that Knockouts Women's Championship a fucking joke, bro. She got eliminated within the first 10 minutes, and the only reason they did that is because the controversy came out about when Mickie James got released. John Laurinaitis or fucking whoever else backstage, what I can't remember his fucking name, sent all her gear back and everything she left in the dressing room. She shipped it back to her in a fucking black trash bag. They don't give a fuck about working with anybody. Well, I don't want to say that. Under Vince McMahon, they want to be the only game in town. They bought out all the competition. They bought out ECW. They bought out WCW. They bought out all the competition except for TNA, except for AEW. Is Triple H a little bit more lenient when it comes to working with different promotions? Yes, I could see that happening in the future, especially for what I've been saying earlier. About promotion. There's probably people that watch New Japan, All Japan, fucking Stardom, whatever, promotions in fucking Mexico. There's people that are fans of that aren't necessarily fans of WWE, but it allows the WWE talent to get in front of those new audiences and possibly be able to drag some of those fans into rechecking out and redeveloping with the WWE product. So do I see it happening in the future under Triple H? I do. And we've already seen it. William Regal's son is like having some kind of program or going to fucking like All Japan or doing something over there, like in a different promotion. He's an NXT guy, you know, so we've seen it. Do I see it happening more in the future? Possibly. I'm still waiting to see, you know, how it develops, but I could definitely see it being a possibility.
And be treated as big time. Cody is the key example. When he came back in 2022, people thought, all right, cool return. But the company proved that they could go out, get free agents, and have them immediately have a sustained impact.
We'll be seeing her in a couple weeks. I do think she shows up in the Rumble.
The foundation for others to come into the company. Being able to lure free agents into the company, I don't know if that would have happened a couple years ago. The last one that connects this whole thing together is Roman Reigns' heel turn. A heel turn that finally made him the top guy that it didn't feel like he was back in 2019 and even early 2020. The turn gave Roman the autonomy to tell his stories, and by virtue of him
Roman
being
Reigns
the top
is
heel,
the WWE,
everything
bro.
else just slowly built under the top star. If he was still a face, realistically, who would your top heel be? Would you have all these crazy moments? Would guys like Jay, Sammy, LA Knight continue to get that big time exposure if he wasn't there?
That stare down gave me goosebumps, bro, when I first saw it.
Allowed Cody to become the face talent that the company desperately needed. If he was still a face, those two would be duking it out, and who knows if Cody would even be in that same position. So by virtue of having that top marquee name, that huge draw, everything has built underneath while he's still the main attraction. The WWE era we're in is being called the Renaissance era, and it makes sense. When you actually look at how well the WWE is functioning, it makes sense as to why things are clicking. A few years ago, it wasn't like this. Everything seems like it's intended with one company in mind. There's not this sense of just waiting for something to fall apart from an on-screen perspective. As fans, you don't feel like, okay, when are they just gonna screw us over? The pay-per-views are fun, everyone's getting a chance. The WWE has developmental clicking with stars of the future ready to take over. WrestleMania is back, and they understand how to remain in the mainstream. Since 2021, the WWE has adjusted in various different assets, and small and simple tweaks, plus Triple H taking over in creative, has given the company new life for the first time in a long time. Though even the WWE's biggest defender can't say it's all perfect, because it's still not. It has gone through a big overhaul though. If you want great in-ring matches, they have it. If you want your soap opera pro wrestling characters, you have those too. If you want tag team wrestling, well, that's slowly being built up. The excitement, the unpredictability, and most importantly, the trust within the WWE and their fans is back. It's finally a well-oiled machine that's in working order, and that working order wasn't something that seemed possible at all a few years ago. Fans were just so hell-bent on crapping on the WWE, and let's be honest, they deserved it. They deserved every bit of that because they were churning out garbage. Now, the company is finally back to being the sports entertainment giant. In the comments below, let me know, is this the best place that WWE has been in the past 15 years?
Yes.
What's working for you? What's not? What changes still need to be made? This is the fourth of a series that's almost happened on accident.
Damn, bro, man. I agree with everything that this guy said, man. I agree with everything that we saw in the video, man, and I hope I gave you guys my point of view when it comes to, you know, Triple H's direction that he's taking WWE. Because, like I said, it hasn't been this exciting in close to 15 years, man. For a number of years, I stopped watching, I stopped caring. There was just nothing for me to really, you know, sink my teeth in or really care about what was going on within WWE. And now that the old man's gone, man, and Triple H took over, you know, we're finally getting that excitement back. You know, just, you know, captivating stories, great wrestling, you know, great promos, and just like there's a lot to like about WWE. And I feel like, you know, we're still in the infancy stage of Triple H, you know, being head of creative. I feel like it's only going to get better year after year, and I can't wait to see the direction that he takes it, because I do feel like, you know, you can definitely show the love and attention to WWE that Triple H does have, and he wants to make it the best place possible. And I mean, with him doing that and taking WWE in this direction, I mean, you know, us fans win at the end of the day, and it's great stuff, man. So great stuff, great video. Superkick Studios, man. Make sure you guys check it out. Check out this dude's YouTube channel. And let me know if you want me to check out any more of their videos, man, because I'm definitely interested in, seeing what other videos that the guy has. So definitely the New Wave video might be my next video. Let me know, man, if you guys are interested in me checking that out, and we'll watch it together here on the channel. If you guys like videos like this, you know what to do. Make sure you guys smash the subscribe button with the notification bell turned on. Check out my social media accounts, links are in the description. Like the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Find a place where I can never